Welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, the podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. You'll rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched A Brighter Summer Day. On 1991 Movie Rewind. A Brighter Summer Day follows 14-year-old Xiao Si'r, played by Chang Chen, as he navigates all aspects of life during the summer of 1960. He is attending night school, which is full of young gang members, and he finds himself getting heavily involved with them. Throughout the summer, he deals with various issues with his family, school life, friends, girls, and rival gangs. Screenplay by Hung, Mingtang, Alex Yang, and Edward Yang, directed by Edward Yang, and released in Taiwan on July 27, 1991. So I'm assuming that you haven't seen this movie before.
No, I have not.
Have you heard of it before?
No.
No, yeah, me either. I guess that's a little surprising because it does have some prestige behind it. It is part of the Criterion collection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've missed this whole thing.
I've never heard of it, but when I was reading up on it, it was considered one of the, I don't know if it is now, but one of the best Taiwanese movies ever. How this movie is really, I understand.
You understand the reasoning behind
I understand
it,
the reasoning why it's really good.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this one. I have heard of Yi Yi.
Yeah.
Which is the movie that Edward Yang did in 2000. And I think has more Western exposure.
Even though, I mean, the teenagers here are all obsessed with Western culture. But that may have just been how it was globally. Like, you have, I know not really, like with the Beatles, like the
Sure.
Beatles became, even though, they're not American, but and then it was mostly Elvis, like in this movie.
Yeah, in this movie it was a lot of Elvis. At least for a couple characters specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You got Deuce and Cat, who are the singing duo. And they're asking
like it's
transcribe lyrics.
It's thrown in here, but you can also see just like the way that they are dressing. I mean, this movie just reminded me of like West Side Story.
Okay. But complete opposite in terms of music, because there's none in this aside from
there's no
the diegetic songs that like exist.
It's
on the
not a
street
musical,
tour.
even though there is parts where
but there's not even a score in this. Like there's
not even
no
the
musical
song
accompaniment aside from the songs that they are actively playing or listening to on the radio. Like there's no score by an external party to create like an atmosphere. It's all silence. That's what I mean.
Yeah. And then the title of this movie is derived from an Elvis Presley lyric from his song "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" Even though I think that the Mandarin, or is it Mandarin or Taiwanese, that I think
there's like
speaking,
multiple.
Because
that's part of the
people from mainland China. This is like after World War II. It's like late 50s, early 60s, and I had to look this up. It was quote known as White Terror, where it was the political reparation on the civilians living on mainland China, where the government declared, martial law, and it started in 1949. So a lot of people from mainland China moved over to Taiwan.
Yeah, they emigrated over there. Yeah, so I mean, there's like a little brief recap at the beginning of the story that sort of explains a little bit about that, but it goes very fast.
Yeah,
And it kind of assumes a lot of knowledge of that time period.
Which I don't know any.
Which we don't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like the language discussion, there's actually a mix, and that's something that gets lost on us. But if we were in Taiwan or China or somewhere like that's watching this movie, they would understand that there's a lot of different accents that are happening in this, and there is Mandarin and Cantonese, because I think at one point I saw in the trivia of IMDb that, you know, like when they are when the mom and the dad are having the fight in the bed, you know, trying to say, hey, don't you think this guy betrayed you, right, that they switch from, I forget which one it was, they switch from Mandarin to Cantonese or vice versa, whichever one is more appropriate for whatever. Because like they're dropping the pretense of trying to assimilate into Taiwanese culture in that moment, and they're, you know, having this internal fight, and so they basically code switch and they are talking in their native language.
So when
there's a lot of like elements of that we do not capture.
Yeah, we won't know that.
Yeah.
And the Mandarin or the Chinese, I guess the kanji for this movie, it translates to Guling Street Juvenile Murder Incident.
Yeah, I think that's like the literal title that was yeah, and then they adapted it for foreign audiences.
Yeah, to A Brighter Summer Day,
which I think makes more sense, honestly. So this is based off of a true story, which is why that literal title exists. But I don't know. I feel like the metaphorical title that it uses is better suited for it.
Yeah.
If you were to see, okay, this movie's called The Murder on Such and Such Street, you would kind of almost assume
you're gonna
that the murder's gonna happen soon.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't.
It's at the very end.
and two, that it'd be more of like a mystery in a sense.
Yeah, it's just like all of like leading up to it, and it's a lot of leading up to it.
There's a lot going on here.
It's
in a way
like a day in the life of this one family.
Like a summer in the life. This obviously spans a lot more than just a day. It's a very strange slice of life type of a scenario, and that's probably why it didn't really come across to Western audiences back. You know, maybe it's not so well known here because I don't know, like I could see it coming across as being too far removed culturally for a lot of people to understand. You know, so it doesn't really have that mass appeal. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, I like movies where, I don't want to say boring, but I like watching about other people's lives.
It's easier to accept a slow-paced movie like this.
It's a slow-paced movie, but it's like...
Especially when it's a different culture where you can kind of absorb the visuals of culture
their
and scenery
day-to-day,
and all these things that you do not get to see.
Yeah, their day-to-day tasks, I guess, and then how they interact, how this family interacts with each other, and then also in this community.
Yeah. I think that is a lot of...
I was interested in.
I think that's a lot of the appeal, but yeah, this movie is extremely slow-paced. It's our second 4-hour long movie.
I will say that I wish this movie was maybe, you could have cut a good hour.
I think there is a version of it that is 3 hours long.
There are, I mean, I appreciate the movie, but there are certain parts where I was like, okay, I'm getting bored.
It's also really weird. Yeah, me too. There's also weird segments where it feels like you have these prolonged stretches where you see virtually nothing happening. And then there are other times where it feels like we're cutting in mid-scene. Like mid-interaction, like mid-conversation. And it's
But it
jarring
leads to something else.
Sometimes. And then sometimes it feels like we're leaving mid-scene, like before the actual resolution of the conversation happens. So it's like this weird mix of, we're going to show you everything, including, you know, all 30 steps it took for a character to get from point A to point B before he starts talking. And then other times where we're going to cut in like mid-sentence practically, and then leave mid-sentence at another time. It's a weird choice to me, and I don't fully understand the dichotomy of it, but it exists. And so yeah, if anyone else is watching these movies along with us, week by week, I apologize for having 2 4-hour movies in a single year. I don't think we're gonna have that happen again.
No, I don't think there is
in 2022. We probably won't even reach a 3-hour movie anymore, if I had to guess.
Comparing this to La Belle Noiseuse, I was more riveted with La Belle Noiseuse. I was that 4 hours. I could have seen more, I guess, with that movie. I could have watched more than 4 hours. And this one, I was like, can we just get to it? I don't know. There were I appreciated it. I was like, okay, I understand most of these scenes, but some scenes where it's just I don't know, there was what you were saying, where people were mid-sentence, going through a breakup. And I'm like, what is even happening?
Yeah.
And then there's other scenes where it's I understand, it's kind of showing the teen angst life of these Taiwanese teenagers, because there's another scene where I was like, why even show this? But I'm like, I get it, but why? Where there was a basketball game, and one of the kids was just disappointed and crying. That was 5 minutes, and then it goes to something else, and I'm like, but why even show that? But I think just to show how teen life is during that time.
I'm sure it all has a purpose. It's tough to... I think this is one of those movies where it's tough to really understand the reasoning behind things if you don't have the understanding of the whole. And so when you're watching it, as you're going along, it's well, what the heck is the point of that scene? Why did that happen? But even, because we rented this movie, I'm taking screenshots before we even recorded it, and I'm noticing a couple little things here and there through skimming through the movie again to get screenshots that I didn't notice the first time around.
Okay.
Very early on, there's a scene with that doctor and his fiance, where they're at the market and Sir comes by and she's giving him looks and basically saying you better freaking go. So there's tension and fights there already, which kind of leads me to believe, okay, well, we already know about the doctor's infidelity or weird stuff that's kind of brought to light 3 hours later in the movie.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that happen.
Well, but this was that before he met Ming?
Well, I don't know when he actually met Ming.
Well, he...
we know when
No, Sir. When Sir met Ming, it was when they were both, at the nurse's office.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying, the doctor and the doctor's fiance are having an interaction where the fiance is basically telling the doctor to get the fuck out of here.
Oh.
She's mad about something. They're having some sort of
fight.
I
thought telling Sir
and it's
to
probably
get...
because of the doctor's,
Oh,
infidelity.
I thought you meant
garbage.
the fiance was telling Sir to get out of here.
No, she escorted... escorted Sir to help him after the first initial fight. So anyway, there's a lot of layers and a lot of stuff going on, but it is very slow paced and there isn't that intermission. And it's weird because there's a lot more going on character wise. There's a huge cast in this compared to La Belle Noiseuse.
Yeah, because because they always I still don't even know who Airplane was. They kept on talking about Airplane. I'm like, which kid is he?
He was just kind of a hanger-on. He didn't really have a whole lot of, purpose other than to be there.
But
if I showed you a picture, you'd know who he was. But
I knew who...
He didn't have any... He didn't have any, moments.
Yeah, I knew who the main, cat... Well, There's Honey, but when I looked it up online, it's Hani, Hani.
Yeah, there's probably phonetic spellings versus whatever, but it's probably meant
Fly,
to be.
I knew, but it was just and Sir. It was there was 4 of teenagers out of all of them, and then Ming, and then there was Jade, the other girl, but then everyone else, I was like, who?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of... Okay, so I think it really helps that they were given code names because of their gang affiliation.
Yeah.
They all have, like, real names, which you rarely hear, if ever. And then you have the code names, like we were saying, you know, things like... What was it? Like, Red Bean and Sex Bomb. And you know, Deuce and Sly and Threads and all these different people. So that helps quite a bit.
But like, then you have like the leader guy. His name is just Shenzhen or something.
Yeah, which leader guy? Because there's a few different.
The guy.
The pool hall guy.
The pool hall guy.
Oh, Shang Dong.
Shang Yang. Okay.
Shang Dong, who's played by one of the writers, Alex Yang.
Okay.
So that helps, but like the family doesn't even get a name. Like the mother and father, we don't have names for them.
Even the youngest sister, they call her the little one.
Yeah, there's 3 different sisters. There's
like an oldest, a
middle, and younger. But
younger.
The middle one virtually has no lines. I don't know why she's a character in this at all.
The older one?
The middle one.
Oh, the middle one.
Where she basically is like wants to push religion in one scene.
Yeah, I didn't even know who she was, but like they call Si'r because that means 4, and he's the fourth child out of 5th.
And also they make a little reference at the end where his name Xiao Si'r makes like a little smiley face. So I think that was an intentional play on words as well. Like that might have been sort of like his code name in a sense. His name in the movie as like, you know, whatever is Zhang Zhen.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. I apologize. The older brother does have a name. It's Lauer.
Yeah.
Which I guess is sort of like a play on words of like prick, they say. So it's sort of like Dick and Richard, whatever. Maybe sort of like a, you know.
That I understood. And I the oldest sister, I don't
think they gave her a name.
Even though she was in it a lot.
Yeah.
She's like
she looks prominent. A lot like the mother.
Oh, you thought she was the mom?
In certain scenes, because they have like very similar builds, haircut.
Oh.
You know,
well,
and like dressed
mom
very
even
similar at times.
Yeah, the mom looks young too.
Yeah.
Where I was like, is that the old... I thought, okay, the sister that they were showing, I thought she was the second sister, and then the mom was the oldest, but then that when they kept on saying mom.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay.
Yeah, the eldest sister dressed kind of matronly to me, and that, you know, that combined with the similar size and shape and haircut and everything.
She's kind of like the second mom, because she's always helping the mom and dad with the youngest sister a lot. Mm-hmm. And then she's also going to school to go to America, because she's like the only one that understands English, because they use Sir and his friend Kat, you know, Kat mostly, they're, you know, he's like obsessed with westernized culture and music, like Elvis Presley.
Yeah, he wants to be a singer.
He wants to be a singer, and he wants to sing in English. When he does sing, it's in English, but he wants Sir's older sister to translate all of these lyrics.
Yeah.
So Kat can sing them at this ice cream parlor place.
Or wherever it is that they do.
I thought it was
there's
at the ice cream place. Yeah.
So there's
and
a lot.
That's how we get the title A Brighter Summer Day, because she listens to the record and she's like pausing and playing, writing down, and she's like, oh, it sounds like he's saying A Brighter Summer Day. And that's where we get this. And
I think I think that title is good because I don't know, it's tough to explain. I know we're going to give away the ending, but like it's an optimistic title, right? Like it's you know, hoping for a brighter future, which is kind of what the whole thread of this movie is. You know, you have Sir, who's in this night school situation, which is basically for the troubled or lower grade kids, and you have to test your way out of that into the day school, which contains like the normal students, quote unquote.
I saw it. That's where I was getting confused, because he was Was he in day school and night school? Because he was in school during the day.
Like weekends.
Oh, so night
Something
school
like
was
that.
weekends and nights?
Something like that. Because they kept on saying, okay, where are you going to go? And like, why are you going so early? And he said, it's Saturday. He's like, well, it seems even early for a Saturday. And it's like, well, we have an assembly to go to first.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that, I don't know exactly what night school hours are, but, you know, it could be like early afternoon.
Well, like
evening
4
or something
to
like that.
9? I have no idea.
There certainly could be some daylight hours.
Okay.
So yeah, the intention is he wants to have a better life, the family wants to have a better life, everyone wants to have a better life, and, you know, that could be possible. There's little sparks of hope sprinkled in as to how that could happen, like the older daughter going to America, and, you know, the dad's working with this guy Wong, who is hopefully going to help Si'r get into the day school and help the mom get her teaching certificates, because she hasn't been able to work ever since they moved to Taiwan. And all these different other things that are going on, and, you know, new relationships and new friendships and all this kind of stuff. But what continually drags them down is the gang activity, really.
Yeah, and you have the 217s.
217 is the rival gang, and you have
there.
the Little Park Boys,
Which is their gang from that school.
And so there's like a turf war involved, and there may even be like a third gang, or I don't know if like just it's maybe Shandong is part of a different outfit that's also just, I don't know, like there's also Threads who's in there, and I don't know if he's part of the 217 or if he's there's a lot of complexities that I didn't fully grasp.
Yeah, I think that's why I was wondering, who is Shandong a part of? Was he like somewhat like adjacent to the 217s?
I think
like working
so.
with them, because he was the leader, but the actual leader of the 217s was like Hani.
No, Honey was the leader of the Little Park Boys.
Oh, I thought he was the
just
leader
away.
of the opposite team.
No, he was on the good guys, quote unquote, team. He was just away for a long time because.
Okay, and then the 217s. This is
217 started taking more control. Sly wanted to basically take over for Honey while he was gone. Had a little bit of infighting with Deuce because Deuce was Honey's brother, and like no one was really fully taking control. And meanwhile, the 217 was taking over their territory while Honey was gone.
I know, they were just, it was a lot of turf war fighting, and there's even parts where like the 217s just walk straight into their school while they're like in the middle of a class, and the teacher just like runs away because he's like,
I think,
there's like a gang war that's gonna happen, and I'm not gonna be a part of this.
They
like they don't.
They're looking for Tiger, but they mistake Si'r for Tiger because they don't know who's who. And we don't really. I think part of our confusion is that we don't really know who is in the 217 they don't really show a lot of people. I guess Shandong is probably part of it, but like aside from that, we don't get to know those characters the way we get to know the Little Park Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tough to know who's who.
Yeah. That's where I was. Well, the 217s, they dress up like, this is why I was getting like, but this is probably because of their influence from like Western culture. They look like greasers to me because they had their hair kind of like coiffed, like in grease, and they were wearing like
a lot of white shirts.
Yeah, just white, just the basic white shirt with like dark pants. That was the 217s.
But there wasn't really an outfit for the Little Park Boys aside from their school outfit.
Besides,
which was also
that's
white
probably
shirts.
Yeah, but they also had their kind of like their whatever their school shirts with their tags on them, with their number tags.
But those were also white shirts. They just
I thought they were like tan.
Okay, it didn't look that much.
I don't know.
So yeah, there's a lot going on with the gang stuff, and he gets wrapped up in all of it, and he slowly devolves as time goes on.
Yeah, and
summer.
He's not a part of either gang, but he's sort of just like friends. Well, I mean, his best friend is Kat, who is in that Little Park Boys gang.
Yeah, he's like ancillary gang, Because they had that little confrontation at the beginning where they catch some kid and Sly tries to get them to hit the kid with a brick to sort of act as an initiation, and they both refuse.
Yeah.
But
then Sly does it.
But he's still, like, part of the gang. He's still around them all the time.
Well, because he was sort
he's
of
just
like...
not doing much of the stuff because he's younger.
Yeah.
And when they do that big raid on Shandong's place, he's outside with the flashlight, not doing anything except for watching for
kind
people
of
to come
looking
out.
Yeah.
And then, he comes in and sees all the carnage afterwards. But so he's around it all the time because that's his whole group. That's his whole friends. That's basically the entire school is part of this gang.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that they say at the very beginning as well is, this fleeing from China created a lot of unstable kids, a lot of severe unrest, and so tons of street games formed. And it's just the way the culture was at the time. And who knows how prevalent it really was, but yeah, that's what they said. There's just so much going on with this thing. I think we haven't talked a whole lot about the filmmaking side of things, and I wouldn't mind doing that quickly, if nothing else. This is sort of it's a weird mix in that respect as well, because it's very flat. It seems like it relies heavily on natural lighting most of the time. So you don't have...
Yeah, there's a lot of dark scenes, because
there's a lot of dark scenes where, like, the entire faces are in shadows. Which is interesting to me.
Like, even near the beginning when they're just showing them in school and then, like, after school kind of, like, hanging out, and the teachers are coming by and they'll be like, oh, she's coming by, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't even see a person walking. Like, can you see? But I don't know. Like, how can they see when it's, like, pitch dark in their school atmosphere? Because there's, like, no lights.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
The camera can't see some of the things that the human eye can. And I think we're just left to interpret some of these things. There's a couple different fights, especially like that, the opening opening
main
fight.
I don't know.
The opening fight scene, and then also, like, the fight in Shandong's area and all this
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
it was all dark except for, like, one light bulb. The flashlight, and there was, like, this light bulb that was kind of, like, shattered or whatever.
So, you have that, and then, in the opening scene, you have a lot of... Okay, so it's, like, a lot of long shots. And you see these people going up and down the stairs, but it's in mostly darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's really interesting to see how that plays out or when it plays out, because it's not like the movie's never heavily lit.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a lot of lighting effects. You don't have textures. You don't have, like, stripes of shadows along the walls or anything. Everything is very flat in that regard. But the shadows get used effectively in situations like that, or even in the opening scene where the dad is talking to Wong at the party, and they're talking, like, completely in shadows, and they're talking about some shady stuff, like political manipulation and corruption and all this kind of thing, and so it's interesting to see when it's used in that way and to what extent, because you really cannot see very much at all. There's even, like, one scene where at the beginning of the Shandong raid, they're in candlelight.
Yeah.
And then Shandong blows out the candles, and you just see, like, the tiniest little, like, remaining spark.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that's on the screen for a while other things happen. It's just very interesting choices to me. And then that combined with, like, the lack of music throughout this whole thing, I don't know, it's just, it's strange. I guess it kind of puts you in... I don't know. It's this weird mix of voyeuristic behavior and also, like, that you're in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're like a spectator in the day in the life of these people's lives.
Yeah, but then there's also, like, a little bit of immersion because of some of the way that stuff is shot. But yeah, there's several different scenes where conversations are happening off screen or behind a door, and you are in a hallway looking at emptiness, basically. You know, you see like a half door on one side of the frame, and you see, you know, a wall on the other side of the frame, and maybe somebody will walk in here and there into the shot, but mostly the conversation is happening off screen.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, you know, there's voyeuristic times like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of long shots, not only in
the one shot
and wide shots.
Like this is near the end too, where you're looking in through the house. It's like I didn't even know what was happening again. The father is like beating the older brother up.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, because he stole the mom's watch and pawned it.
Okay, because I know that, you know, he needed...
It happened multiple times, but this is the time he actually got caught.
Okay, because I know he does, like, the pool hall stuff, and
he's a pool hustler, and he lost some money.
He's always, like, owing money, but then he also gives money to Si'r, because Si'r owed money to someone.
To Airplane, actually.
Oh, that's the one that he stole the baseball bat from?
Yeah, well, he was using the baseball bat, and then, like, there's a school announcement saying baseball bats are banned.
Yeah, and then
and
it's taken. And then
took it away.
It's $70, and he's like, well, what are you going to do with my baseball bat that I bought?
Yeah.
And that's his brother gives it to, which I thought that was nice. I was like, cool. I mean, they have a... But that whole scene where we are looking in, where his father is, like, beating the shit out of the older brother, and the mom's crying, and... The sister is trying to stop it.
Yeah.
Like but it's like we are seeing this, but then the camera like turns and it's like Si'r watching his family fighting. Yeah. It's like we were watching in his perspective.
And there's a few different scenes like that too, and I think that's like the opening scene where he's basically getting kicked out of his day school. You know, that's another example.
Like
his
his father is negotiating.
Shots. Where you see the father, but you don't see the...
You don't see Si'r sitting there watching his father negotiate with the professor or whatever.
Yeah, and you also don't see the professor. You can't see the woman that he's talking to. And it's very echoey. The noises are very far away. And then near the end of the scene, you get the reverse shot of Si'r just kind of like sitting on a bench in this area. I think that's a perfect example. You know, those two things are perfect examples of how you can be sort of immersed in this, but also voyeuristic at the same time. And I think, for some reason, I thought that the middle sister was also outside of Si'r, but maybe I'm thinking of a different scene. But I think, that part where the dad is beating the older son, that happens after, like, he has a breakdown. The dad has a breakdown. Yeah, that happens after like, he's interrogated for something else.
He's being interrogated. Something about his job, because he works for the government.
He works for the government. I really don't understand what he was interrogated for.
That I don't, because that's another scene where there's scenes where there's people whispering and we have no idea what they're saying.
I think it's really just some sort of like political stuff that would make sense to people in the region or people who knew that part of history, and we just don't understand.
But they don't even. We watched this with subtitles. They don't even give subtitles. It's for like some of it. You hear the whispering, and then they call the father out to this, and I thought he had to do like a special job because they were making him like write something.
Yeah, and the other thing is like this happens immediately after the sword fight raid.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
Shandong's
was his father? Did his father have something to do with it, or
I thought he
was
just gonna be brought in to
because of his son?
Because like Si'r was being punished, and he had to go get his son or whatever, or account for.
But he was like, they made him do something. This is where I was also getting confused. They made him. They kept him there, and they're like, you can't go until you finish whatever the hell you're writing. And that's when his wife didn't even know, because then she met up with him somewhere and she's like, oh, and he's like, I gotta finish this job first.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I do know about it, but I don't fully understand why it was happening. So like, I know that the interrogators were basically asking him to write down every single name that he knew.
So maybe
I don't know if it was like a communist type of outing like, you know,
who
are you associating with type of
yeah,
thing.
so we can arrest
Because
those people.
really what they were trying to get at, I think, was Wong.
Oh, okay.
Because they do mention it. There's a couple times where they mention, do you know this person? And he's like, I don't think so. He's like, well, don't you remember 10 years ago when you did this thing? He's like, yeah. Well, that was with this person. Oh, okay. So why didn't you write his name down? Like, why didn't you remember this guy's name? It was like that kind of like weird nitpickiness.
Yeah.
But there was also this time where it's like have you
Scientology
heard of this guy?
level. I don't know. It's like
But you know, there was that point where they said, well, do you know this guy Wong? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh yeah, he was a former classmate of mine. And I've seen him like once or twice in class reunions, lying about his interactions because he does have an actual relationship ongoing with Wong. So I think that's really what the goal was of it, is to capture this corrupt potential
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know who was behind it or why exactly, because they don't really get into that. But yeah, he gets to leave the interrogation, and then his wife happens to see him at the market, Uncle Fat's market, eating, and she's just like flabbergasted that he's there. And I think it may be partly that she didn't think that he was going to get out, maybe.
Oh, I thought
like she was surprised that he was alive, possibly.
Oh, I thought
and
she
also
was just like
surprised
what the hell
that
are
he
you...
went there instead of home.
Yeah. Well, but then he was like, I'm still finishing up with work, and
yeah, they get home and he's like, I need to go to work now.
Yeah.
Like, because I still have a job,
but
and I want to like keep up appearances as much as possible.
But then
I think he was fired.
Yeah, but that's when Uncle Fat was like, I can give, like, you've helped my family out with whatever, and I can give your husband a job. I mean, it's not going to pay well, but he has a job with us.
There's a lot of nuance in this, because the only reason Uncle Fat helps him is because Sir saves his life when he falls into the ditch when he's walking drunk from home. Mm-hmm. But Sir was going to hurt him, and then decided not to at the last minute. He had the brick in his hand because Uncle Fat had a confrontation with the dad earlier. So like there's all these like weird interconnected scenes that are going on in this whole movie, and it's tough for us to outline all of them, but like it's a complex story overall. And unless this whole time we've barely talked about Ming,
which is what this...
She's like kind of like the main impetus of a lot of the actions and a lot of because she is presented as being something of a manipulative character at times.
Yeah. I mean,
she basically has her hand in every single relationship possible, in a sense. I don't know.
But she comes off like innocent.
Oh yeah, like she doesn't give off that air of manipulation at all.
No.
She's just like pure innocent, like normal 14-year-old girl. But behind it all, it's like what was the character's name in Bugsy, Annette Bening's character?
I forgot her name, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Episode 3 of my podcast, if you want to go back. But it's
Virginia Hill.
Virginia Hill. Yeah, there you go.
So she's the Virginia Hill.
She's basically a Virginia Hill. Like she's talking and interacting with all these different facets.
She's the girlfriend of
Honey,
who's the leader of this gang,
and possibly the reason that Honey had to run away.
Yeah,
because she supposedly told him to kill someone else.
Yeah, we learn all this like later in the movie, because in the beginning, they're just, it's like Four and her, they sort of meet at the nurse's office in their school. Mm-hmm. And she like hurts her leg somehow, and he's like, just walk her to her class.
Yeah,
but then
playing basketball with Tiger, but they don't show the injury happen. They just show the aftermath. So she like sprains her ankle or something.
Yeah, and instead they decide to cut class.
Yeah, and then the 217 gang sees them at the shooting range, the army.
I mean, because they know who she is, but Four doesn't know who she is. He just thinks that she's like just a girl from school,
sort of
hanging out with her.
I mean, I think he has an understanding that she may be Honey's girl.
Oh, but I don't think he knew who he was.
He's not like actively trying to date, like he's just sort of like hanging out as a friend at first.
Yeah, at first.
And then afterwards, things changed.
After the whole when Hani gets
killed,
that's
he comes back, but doesn't last long in this movie.
Yeah. Si'r is like, I'm here to protect you. I want to protect you. And then she's like, do you really mean that? But then I was like, are they together? Like,
well, he thinks so.
But she has
not. Yeah, I mean, her mindset is basically like she wants everyone to want her.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and like to the point where she's upset that doctor is engaged.
Oh yeah.
You know, she's like.
But she's like a 14-year-old girl.
Right, but that also kind of leads us to believe that the doctor may have had an inappropriate relationship with Ming, and that's also something that is alluded to when the reporters come to the doctor at the very end.
Mm.
So nothing is actually seen on screen, but it's kind of alluded to in various different ways. But Ming basically wants to have everyone and be in control of everyone.
Yeah. And in the beginning of the movie, Si'r, this is like night 1 of night school, I guess, where, you know, he steals like a flashlight from this nearby film studio. I mean, that was like a whole thing with him and Kat. And he's like walking in the woods between the film studio and the school, and he sees like this couple making out, and they're like making fun of them, they're like, ooh, hanky panky, you know.
Yeah.
And
it's that's sly. And...
well, we find out later that it's Ming.
It's Ming, but they say it's Jade to not upset Honey and whoever else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that starts the beginning of, like, kind of sly kind of bullying Si'r, because why'd you make up this rumor about me, of me making out with someone?
Or, like, why did you even say anything to anybody?
Yeah, why'd you say it? Yeah. But we soon find out from Jade that it was Ming that he was making out with.
And they just agreed to say that it was her to avoid more trouble, because it would have been worse if it was Ming.
That's what, I mean, it leads up to, because Si'r is kind of like this poor, troubled teen.
Yeah.
Like, he gets into, like, all this shit, like, all this wrong shit happens to him, and he's just trying to, like, mind his own business, sort of.
Yeah, to a degree.
Because he's not a bad kid, but he does, like, lash out sometimes. Not to, like, his family, but mostly, like, the teachers. Like, he doesn't give into, like, authority figures that well.
It's tough to know what goes on in his head. He has sort of an aloof expression most of the time.
But he's, like, going off, like, swearing at, like, teachers and stuff all of a sudden.
That's near the...
But I think that was because he's just, like, an angry kid, because he's angry about what's happening with, like, Ming.
Yeah, a 14-year-old kid, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So, you know...
and he's, you know, he finds this knife.
Well, Kat finds the knife in his attic, and then Si'r steals it from Kat's house, because he's been expelled, and there's, like I said, a lot of moving parts in this whole thing.
But, yeah, he meets up with Ming one night and confronts her.
There's some real conversations in this movie that I was not expecting to see happen.
Between, like, 14-year-old kids. Like, they act like as if they're adults.
Well, yeah, like, the whole conversation between him and Jade as well. Like, the conversation he has with Ming is virtually the same as what he has with Jade, where basically Si'r is saying, I can change you, I can make you better. And both of the women are like, no, you can't, and I don't want to be changed. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I wasn't expecting that type of conversation in this type of a movie. It was very surprising to see. I don't think that there would be, like, an American 1991 movie that would treat the relationships between two teenagers with that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, to even, like, approach those subjects, let alone have the women stand up for themselves. Yeah. But they both do. And they're like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. You're the problem. You know, that was pretty surprising to see that happen with Jade. And then Jade, like, locks him into, like, the playground area or whatever. They're talking. And Ming is basically, this is where she, I don't want to say that she comes out of her shell, but like she kind of like makes her
like her
true self known.
Yeah, her connivingness comes out
A little bit. Yeah, and I don't know if I'd even call it conniving. It's just like, she's doing
her
what she can to
manipulation
survive.
abilities came out.
Yeah.
Further, I don't know.
And it's basically saying like, I never did anything I didn't want to do. Like nobody's making me do this stuff. Like this is what I want to be. Like you're saying that you can change me. That means that you think I'm doing something wrong, but I don't think I'm doing something wrong. Like, so I mean that's not fully being manipulative, I don't think, in that respect. I think she's just saying like, yeah, no, like this is who I am. Like you gotta accept this, and if you don't, then you have a problem. I'm not the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah, I mean, and then
but Sir has a problem.
He has a problem, and then
unfortunately,
he stabs her with that knife, and this was like they're in the middle of like a very public area, like this market area.
Yeah, they're in this street market.
Yeah, and then there's people they see what's going on, but no one really reacts until she hits the floor.
And he starts telling her to get up.
Yeah,
louder
and that's
and louder.
when people are like coming. They start coming towards them like, hey, and then they're surprised, and then that's when like crying and yelling and all this stuff like the last 15 minutes is when like all this stuff is like jumbled into one.
Yeah, for such a slow movie,
like
things start to
after
ramp
the
up
actual
pretty
event
quickly.
happens, it's like everything is like quickly. When that's where I need the slow stuff to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, so
and it's like the stuff with her mom. Like her mom finds out, and then her mom tries to kill herself.
Right.
And her
mom has been having medical issues the whole time. She had asthma, and they had to move her around because of like medical expenses and other like issues with that, and couldn't do her job, and so that created other problems and whatnot. So yeah, they went to the doctor at some point and interviewed him about the mother because of the attempted suicide, and then that's when they also asked her about his relationship with Ming, and he kicked them out and whatnot. So there's only two parts where they have text where they explain what's going on. One is at the very beginning to explain that in 1949 a lot of people left mainland China to Taiwan, and all the unrest and whatever that happened there. And then the other part was talking about what happened to Sir after he killed Ming. Which
that's where I wanted to see more of.
Like the after effects and like the trial or like his prison life or something
like
that. Yeah. I think this is really just not what this movie is for. It's meant to be the loss of innocence for many people. It's meant to be about how this young person who has his whole life ahead of him can throw it all away. Like this brighter summer day is now in the shadows, in a sense. Like it's just gone. So I think it's meant to be that tragic stuff rather than to tell the full true story. So they talk about, how he was sentenced to death, and was the first juvenile to be sentenced to death, and then that was later commuted, and I think he served ultimately
15 years.
50?
15.
Oh, 15? I thought it said 30 in the movie.
Well, he came out of jail when he was 30.
Oh,
so
I got that.
He was 15.
Got it.
And he was 30 by the time.
And then there's like a small little epilogue with Kat, who's trying to send in his performance tape to be basically discovered as a true artist, and he writes correspondence to Sir pretending like Elvis actually received it and wrote him back and everything, but in reality, unfortunately, like the tape is thrown away, and so
which is sad.
Another dream shattered that summer. Let's quickly get into some cast and crew that's worth mentioning. We got Edward Yang. He's part of the Taiwan New Wave. He was the Cannes winner for Best Director and Palme d'Or nominee for Yi Yi. Palme d'Or nominee for A Confusion. He's also directed movies like Mahjong and Taipei Story. I think all of them are in the similar vein of like slice of life, sort of more family-oriented stories, I believe. Most of the other people, Hung, he also played the Chinese studies teacher, the one who made Kat write the character for I 100 times on the board. He's written a Confusion, and also Human Comedy. Mingtang Lai was another writer. Only other credit is an assistant director for The Terrorizers, which is another one of Edward Yang's movies. Alex Yang, who also plays Shandong and was one of the writers, also did movies The Trigger, Taipei 21, and My Fair Laddie, Laddy. Chang Chen is the person who played Sir. This was his first movie. He was 14 years old. He has done quite a few since. He was in things like Happy Together, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Eros, 2046. He was in the new Dune, and he's also been in a TV show called Love and Destiny, which ran for 60 episodes, so he's had a good, long career since this. Lisa Yang played Ming. Her only other credit is one episode of the American TV show One Life to Live in 2008, which is really strange. But yeah, she I think lives mostly in America now. The father was played by Kou-Chu Chang. He's going to be in the 1991 movie The Stone Age Warriors. He's also been in other movies such as Love Massacre, Killer Rose, Last Affair, and he is the actual father of Sir and Lao Er.
Oh, so Lao
in
Er
real life
is
the two brothers
Chang Chen and
Chang
Lao
Chen,
Er.
and the older brother is Han Chang.
Okay.
So Chang Chen,
the real
Han
brothers
Chang
and father
are real brothers, and their father is Kou-Chu Chang. So, yeah. The mother was played by Elaine Jin. She's been in things like Lost in Beijing, Yi Yi, and also the 2019 movie version of Midnight Diner. And then the middle sister, who had like virtually no lines. This is her only acting credit, but she did direct a few different things like Artemisia, Let the Wind Carry Me, The Furthest End Awaits. Her name is, I'm going to mispronounce this, I apologize, Xiao Si'r Chang. And then the other person I want to mention, there's two actually. Emily Y. Chang, or Yin Chen Chang, played Ming's mother. I just wanted to quickly mention this because she did have quite a few roles in the late 70s and early 80s. She was a very prolific actress in that time period. But as sort of like a weird coincidence, she died in 2016 of asthma. Sort of like what her character experienced in this movie. And then Shang-Chi Chen, the little doctor's fiance, is what her credit is there. She's had probably one of the better careers as well. She's been in such movies as What Time Is It There?, I Don't Want to Sleep Alone, Exit, where she won the Best Actress award at the Golden Horse Awards, which we'll talk about in a second here, and also nominated for Wayward Cloud, Goodbye Dragon Inn, and The Receptionist. So she's been in a bunch of stuff. In terms of awards, this had a lot of film festival awards. At the Tokyo International Film Festival, it was nominated for the Tokyo Grand Prix, and it won the Special Jury Prize. At the Golden Horse Film Festival, which is Taiwan's major film festival, it did win Best Feature Film and Original Screenplay, and it was also nominated for Best Actor, Best Actress, Director, Cinematography, Art Direction, Makeup and Costume Design, Sound Recording. And like we said, it was part of the Criterion Collection. With all of that, we can say we can move on to true crime and pop culture.
So yeah, this movie is based off of a true story that is, I guess it's well known because it was given the circumstances. And I only found, I mean, when I was looking this up, there's only like one paragraph, and it was like on the Criterion Channel website for this movie. It was just on June 16th, 1961, on Cooling Street in Taiwan. A teenager killed his girlfriend with a knife for a total of $7. I don't know why.
So there's like some sort of monetary aspect that wasn't mentioned in the
movie. And at that time, one of them was 16 and the other was 15, and it didn't say who was 16 or 15. And during that time, the locals in Taiwan were shocked, mainly because, you know, how it was in the movie. It was like a teen this is the first time like a teen, well-known teen murdering incident that happened like in public, basically. And that's it. But I'm assuming it also happened the same way, where maybe that teen was given the death penalty, but because, you know, he was like 15 or 16, they shortened it to like a 15-year sentence.
Yeah, they reversed it later. Yeah, I would imagine that that's what would have happened in real life, is that they were the first juvenile.
They like tried, yeah, it's like they didn't want to try him as an adult, but, you know, as a teen. And that's all I found out about that. And then moving on to TV, July 27th, 1991 was a Saturday, which is from last week's movie that we did. It was only 4 days. So Hot Shots was July 31st.
Okay.
So we have the same TV guide.
And we've had 2 movies on July 26th as well already.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Wachowski and Life Stinks. So we've had a lot in this area.
So this was a few days before Hot Shots, which was last week. But, I mean, TV-wise, it was on a Saturday night. A Saturday night, it was just a bunch of repeats, and then also just a bunch of movies that were on ABC and CBS. And the CBS movie was The Big Easy. Do you remember that movie?
I haven't seen it.
I don't know if I've seen it. I know it has Dennis Quaid and Ellen Barkin in it. And on ABC was a movie called Proud Men, which I think was a TV movie.
Is it? Okay. So it might be on our list. I just don't recognize it.
It's in 1987. Oh, because it says no. But it says it's a repeat. So, but on CBS after the Big Easy was on, there was 2 episodes of Baghdad Cafe, which was a TV show based off of the movie. And I remember we talked about that movie because it was directed by
Salmonberry's director.
Yes, Adlon. Can't think of his first name right.
Percy
Adlon. So, but this was 2 seasons, and these were the last 2 episodes that aired on July 27th, 1991.
Okay.
But it starred Baghdad Cafe, the TV series, starred Whoopi Goldberg and Gene Stapleton.
Yep. Which is an interesting pairing.
Yeah. I mean, I read some, like, tea, I guess. There's, like, insider stuff that the series ended on November 16th, 1991, after a dispute between Goldberg and the show's co-executive producer. The executive producer was told that Goldberg called CBS president in late November to say that she was quitting the show. With no time to recast Goldberg's role, CBS ended the series and pulled the remaining episodes from the broadcast schedule.
Interesting.
And then moving on to music, I mean, I thought we were going to have the same stuff as last week, but the bottom 5 for this weekend on July 27th.
Yeah, it's a slightly different cutoff for the week, so...
Yeah, it was exactly 1 week before Hot Shots, but I have 5 new songs from the bottom 5 of last week for this week. And at number 100 was the song called Someone by the Rembrandts. And that song's not great. I mean, the Rembrandts, we all know, does the Friends song.
Right.
I'll Be There
So
For
this
You.
is like their previous album.
Yeah, and we talked about them before because they did another song that was on the charts. That's Just the Way It Is.
Okay.
Which I know that song more. I've never heard this song, but it's just like a More Than Words wannabe type song.
Okay.
And I was like, it's very like slow, and I was like, when is the hook gonna drop? Like, when is something gonna happen?
Let the bass drop. Yeah.
And nothing else happened until
never
like
happens. Yeah.
no, well, like a drum beat finally happens like 2 minutes in,
Oh.
and then I'm like, all right, I'm bored. And the song before that is number 99 is this is the first time it's on the charts. Hey Stupid by Alice Cooper.
Okay.
And the video is amusing. I mean, we'll put it on.
Yeah, it should be on there.
It's gonna be on the website. And I was thinking, like, that's the song. Isn't that the song they play when Wayne's World goes and sees them live before they go backstage to meet Alice Cooper?
It could be. I really don't remember.
I mean, that's how I know this song. Okay. But fun story is I saw Alice Cooper live like almost 20 years ago for free.
He was touring around. I remember. Yeah, he came to like the big music festival in my hometown. I don't think I saw him though.
I mean, I only saw him because me and my roommate at the time were on the train and some guy just gave us tickets. He's like, hey, do you want to see Alice Cooper? And we were like, okay. And it was for that night. And we were like, we have nothing else to do. So we went and it was an interesting night.
Nice.
So I don't know. I encourage people to see a band or a group or a person.
If they're legends and long, if they have longevity, then they probably know how to put on a show.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about Alice Cooper except for like School's Out Forever, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I guess we're going. Number 98 is this song called Perfect World by the band called Alias. And just by reading this, I was like, I don't know this band and I don't know this song. But listening to the song, this was on the soundtrack for Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And this band Alias is a supergroup it's a Canadian supergroup. So it's like two guys from this band from Canada called Sheriff. I have no idea who Sheriff is, but it's also the band members from the band Heart, excluding the two sisters. So it's all the guys in Heart, I guess, with these guys from this band Sheriff called Alias.
Okay.
And their other hit, which is what I knew from listening, was More Than Words Can Say.
Oh, that's also them?
That's also them.
Oh, okay.
That song was in so they had two albums. One was in 1990, which had this song, Perfect World, and More Than Words Can Say on it. And then, Perfect World was also in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead soundtrack. And then their second album didn't come out until 2009.
Wow. They probably decided, hey, let's make some more money with our
but none of the
bands.
songs on there charted. So,
Sure.
I mean, that was it for them. And number 97 was the song Monster by Fred Schneider, which I was playing for you.
Yes. And it made me think, like, why didn't I get into the B-52s when I was younger?
Oh, really? You never did?
No. Like, I know they're, like, hits, but I never, tried
like
to explore anything.
Rock Lobster and stuff like that?
Yeah. But I never tried to explore anything beyond the hits. And why didn't I?
I mean, I think we talked about this before. I thought, like, B-52s...
in REM
was in REM.
yeah. Because they were happy people, yes.
Until, I don't know, Love Shack came around, I guess. That's when I was like, but I was like, where's Michael Stipe? I don't know.
Yeah, but Michael Stipe does kind of look like Fred Schneider a little bit. So.
Anyways, but this song was released. This was, just Fred Schneider on his own. After the B-52s, but in the video,
female vocals.
But yeah, in this video, it was the two women from the B-52s in this song, but it was on his solo album. But this album was released in 1984 and then re-released in July of 91. And then this song, Monster, made the charts in 1991.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's a very goofy song.
Yeah, and then
as you
the
would
video.
expect,
the video,
I
like,
did not
there's
see the
a
video.
monster in my pants, and it does a something dance. I forget. Oh, a modern dance. That's, like,
yeah.
one of the lyrics.
And I'm listening to that thinking, why didn't I get into B-52s more?
The video is amusing, and, we're going to put it on the website. And number 96 was Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J, which we all know, hopefully.
All right, let's move on to rankings and ratings. Where on your 1 to 5 star scale are you going to put A Brighter Summer Day?
I'm going to give this a 4.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where, it obviously has a lot of prestige, but it didn't resonate with me the way some of the other higher profile movies have. It didn't blow me out of the water like Belle Noiseuse. It didn't surprise me the way something like All the Mornings of the World did.
Yeah.
So on my 0 to 4 star scale, I'm gonna give it I'm only gonna give it a 3, I think, but I probably would have given it, I don't know, that could change to like a 3.5 if I watched it more, if I
I mean, it's,
I could have someone convince me to bump it
if this movie
higher.
was an hour, honestly, like an hour less, which you said there is, I probably would have liked it more, because there are times where I'm like, can this movie be done now? Like, well, my problem with this is I looked up what happened.
Yeah,
this is like the
that's partly your
first
own
movie
fault.
where I was like, okay, I know what. So that's my fault for looking. Well, because I was researching for it, because I read that it was based off a true story. So I was looking up true story stuff, and I was like, oh, that's what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what it's leading up to. So I knew what was going to happen. So then when I knew that, I was like, okay, can we just get to it?
Yeah.
So maybe that was my fault. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I also think this is every movie's worth watching once. Would you watch this again? I think for me, this is one where I do think it would benefit from a second viewing. I think I wouldn't mind trying the shorter version first.
Yeah.
But I do think there's enough like depth of characterization that's kind of hidden behind the scenes, or not so obvious, that we could glean more information from another viewing. So I don't know about you. If you'd watch it again.
I would. Yeah, if it was the shortened version. I don't know if I would watch this the full 4 hours. But I would like to see, like, now that we know what happens in the movie, it's interesting to rewatch and see, like, all the, like, foreshadowing, I guess.
Yeah, like, basically
like, now
how
we know
things snowball.
Yeah, like how all these instances came up to, the main incident, I guess.
Yeah, and like try to find, understand a little bit more about why the ice cream vendor was focused on so much at a certain point and things like that, and find more metaphors, like sort of at the end when he puts the flashlight down and picks up the knife. I think that was very metaphorical of like, this is the moment, like he's leaving his childhood behind with this stolen flashlight that he had been carrying around, like that was his symbol of participation, and now he's moving on to the next step while bringing the knife and before confronting Ming. Even though it wasn't really confrontational, it just sort of kind of happened. It wasn't like a major argument between them. It's like, okay, well, she's not giving me the answer that I want, and it just happens. But yeah, so yes, I would watch it again. I'd probably have to just be in the right mindset. If you out there want to watch A Brighter Summer Day, as of this recording in May 2022, it's available on Criterion Channel, Canopy, digital rental, DVD. As always, check your local listings. As for us, you can listen to us on all your major podcasting platforms. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, YouTube. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies along with show notes and more. Next week, as part of our word association, we're going to take The Summer from this title and we're going to watch The Summer My Father Grew Up. That's only available on YouTube. We will see you then.
Thanks.